She called it a harmless test drive. "I just want to feel how it handles before you leave," my wife said, twirling the keys to my BMW like it was some toy she'd never touched before. I was leaving the next morning for a 3-week business trip overseas. She'd never cared about the car before. Suddenly she was obsessed. I handed her the keys, kissed her cheek and said, "Keep it under 100. She laughed. But her eyes? Something was off. Darren Cole here. 39, private equity consultant, estate worth $3.2 million. Married 5 years. And until last week I thought loyalty meant silence. The next morning I reached into the glove box to grab my travel sunglasses. That's when I noticed the seam near the passenger side floor panel had been shifted. Too neat. Too intentional. I pried it open, and there it was, a black magnetic GPS tracker. Hidden in a cavity that shouldn't exist unless you knew the car's blueprints. My stomach dropped. She didn't borrow the car. She planted something in it. I didn't say a word. Didn't confront her. Instead I charged it, studied it, learned its frequency, then swapped it, placed it on the underside of her rear bumper that night, while she slept like a woman who had already rehearsed my funeral. And that's when it got interesting. Because at 11:47 p.m., while I pretended to be asleep, her car left the driveway, and I followed every turn, every pause, every red light. She didn't go shopping. She didn't go to the gym. She went to a house on the far side of town. A man opened the door, shirtless, smiling, and she kissed him like she hadn't kissed me in years. She stayed inside for 53 minutes, long enough to confirm everything I already knew, and worse. I watched from half a block away, sitting in the shadows with the tracker app glowing on my phone. When she finally came out, she was laughing, barefoot, holding a wine glass in one hand like she owned the night. She wasn't even trying to hide it. That told me everything. Darren Cole. A man who just confirmed that his wife wasn't borrowing his car for fun. She was plotting something. Calculated. Clean. And now I knew what. Back home, she slid into bed next to me like nothing happened. Kissed my shoulder. Whispered, "Sleep tight, babe." I did. Because I had no intention of reacting like a fool. Instead, I started digging. Over the next 72 hours, I traced the tracker source to a private account held in the name of a shell company. One I hadn't created, but someone else had. A transfer had been made to that account 2 weeks ago. Small enough not to flag, but large enough to matter. $7,000. And the sender? Him. The man she visited. Name, Carson Holt. No formal employment. No visible income. But he just made a down payment on a Tesla. And he was shopping for condos. She wasn't just cheating. They were preparing for my exit. So I updated my will. Spoke with my estate attorney. And removed her name from every asset she assumed she was about to inherit. She thought I was flying out of the country tomorrow. She had no idea. I'd already canceled my trip. I watched her pack my suitcase that morning with practiced hands. Neatly folded shirts. Rolled socks. Slipped a note in the side pocket. "Miss you already. Oscar Worthy." She walked me to the car. Hugged me like she meant it. Waved from the driveway as I pulled away. But I didn't go to the airport. I circled back, parked in a friend's garage 5 blocks away and waited. 30 minutes later, she left the house again. No hesitation. No guilt. She didn't know my phone still connected to the home security system. I watched her disable it from the panel, something she never figured out during our entire marriage. She practiced. Darren Cole. The man she thought was 40,000 feet above ground while she walked barefoot into another man's home and called him baby on a weekday. But what she didn't know. I had a friend tailing her, an old colleague from my military contracting days who owed me a favor. Discreet. Quiet. Professional. He got footage. Clear as day. Them laughing. Drinking. Her talking about when it's all his. As in, my estate. That night, I slept in a hotel near downtown. Sat with my lawyer in the morning and transferred all my liquid assets into a trust. Revocable by me only. She had no access. No claim. I even rerouted my life insurance beneficiary. From her. To my sister. The will was updated. Notarized. Filed. I kept the date of my fake trip. I let her believe I was still abroad. But on day 5? She made her move. She invited him into my house. And what happened next was exactly what I was waiting for. She walked him through my front door like it was hers. Laughing. Barefoot again. She'd always said she hated shoes indoors. Turns out she only hated them when she was lying. I watched it all unfold in real time. Motion alerts. Security camera feed. Her disarming the alarm. him tossing his jacket on my chair. And then, the moment that burned through the screen, she opened my liquor cabinet, poured 2 glasses of the bourbon I'd been saving for my retirement party, and said, "Here's to the rest of our lives, soon." I again, Darren Cole. And I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was focused. I waited exactly 90 minutes before making the call. To the off-duty sheriff's deputy who lived 3 doors down. I had already told him to expect a call from a very calm man reporting an intruder in his home. He arrived fast. Knocked politely. I watched on the feed as Carson opened the door, shirt half-buttoned, holding a drink, and stammered, "Can I help you?" The deputy smiled. "You sure can. Whose house is this?" Carson looked at her. She froze. I paused the feed. I already knew what happened next. They both got escorted off the property. No arrests. Just a clean legal extraction, enough to rattle them without giving them anything to twist into drama. That night she called me 3 missed calls. Then a text. "There's been a mistake. We need to talk." No, we didn't. Because while she was being removed, my estate attorney was filing the final clause in the trust. A clause triggered by infidelity. And everything she thought she was about to inherit? Vanished. She showed up at the law office the next morning. Tight dress. Oversized sunglasses. Hair perfectly done, but her hands? Shaking. My attorney buzzed me before she even made it past the front desk. "She's here," he said. "Wants answers." "Give her the packet," I replied. "Then watch her face." Hi, Darren Cole. Still legally married but not for long. And definitely no longer in the dark. The envelope she received was thick. Inside, a copy of the newly amended trust, filed and notarized. Her name, fully removed. Her access, terminated. Attached was a letter, not mine but the firm's. As of date, Mrs. Cole is no longer a beneficiary of Mr. Cole's estate due to verified breach of marital integrity. Per Clause 7C, all assets will be protected under individual ownership. She read it in silence. Then stood up, knocked over the chair, and stormed out without a word. Back at the house, I watched her enter with shaking hands. She paced the living room. Called him, Carson. Voicemail. She called again. Still nothing. Because Carson had his own surprise waiting. Turns out he'd taken a $25,000 loan from her weeks ago, under the assumption she'd pay it back once things settled. But she had nothing left to settle. And when the bank froze her access to our accounts, he got spooked. Real spooked. He went silent. And she went into panic mode. Text after text. All left on read. She went from glass of wine to full-on breakdown within hours. And I watched from my quiet apartment across town. One-eyed signed the lease on 2 months earlier when the lies first started. Because while she had been plotting her exit with someone else, I had already built mine. By the end of the week she was calling every hour. Blocked numbers. Fake names. Even used her sister's phone once. Each message sounded more frantic than the last. "Darren, please. We need to talk. You misunderstood everything. I made a mistake, a stupid, horrible mistake. You're still my husband." No. I was her exit plan. And now her exit had closed. Hi, Darren Cole. And while she was spinning in circles, I stayed 3 moves ahead. See, betrayal doesn't happen in a vacuum. It leaves a trail. And I made sure to follow every inch of it. That loan Carson took? It wasn't just a loan. It came from a shared account she secretly opened using my credentials as the co-signer. A move that's not just unethical, it's criminal. Forgery. Fraud. I brought the evidence to my attorney. "Press it?" he asked. "Not yet," I said. "Let her panic first. Because when people panic, they confess things they never planned to." That night, she showed up at my building. I didn't let her in. She sat outside for over an hour, texting in long paragraphs, shifting between rage and heartbreak. Then came the line that told me everything. "Carson used me. He said if I married you we'd both be set. I didn't think you'd ever find out." There it was. Confirmation. Not just of the affair, but of the setup. The conspiracy. The motive. She didn't marry me because she loved me. She married me because he needed funding, and I was the bank. She had confessed in writing. And that was all I needed. The next morning, I forwarded the text to my legal team and the bank's fraud division. This wasn't just a divorce anymore. This was prosecution. The fraud division didn't take long. 2 hours after submitting the files, they froze the account she opened in my name. Forgery confirmed. IP logs from her laptop. Handwriting match. Even her voice on a recorded bank call, impersonating my consent. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was criminal intent. Hi, Darren Cole. The man she tried to bankrupt with a smile, then love bomb into forgetting. But I don't forget. I document. My lawyer filed charges that morning: identity theft, financial fraud, and breach of fiduciary trust within a marital agreement. The fallout was immediate. She got served in the parking lot of her yoga studio, 2 officers, no warning. Meanwhile, Carson? He ran. Deleted social accounts. Pulled listings on the condo he was almost ready to buy. He knew what was coming. And he wasn't about to stick around. But what he didn't know: the text she sent me, detailing their plan, included his full name, his financial involvement, his promises, and under state law that's conspiracy. I forwarded everything to a district investigator. They took it seriously. Because it wasn't about infidelity. It was about using marriage as a weapon for financial gain. Later that night she finally got through to me. Voicemail. Shaky voice. The mask was gone. I didn't want to hurt you. Carson made it sound like it would just be a phase. He said you'd never feel it. That you were too busy to notice. She paused. But you noticed everything. She was right. I noticed the hesitation. The timing. The lies in her love. And the next time she stood in court, it wouldn't be for divorce. It would be for trial. Court didn't bring satisfaction. It brought silence. The kind that settles in when the truth is too loud to deny and too bitter to spin. She stood 2 rows ahead of me, hair pinned back, dressed like innocence. But the judge didn't care about appearances. Judges care about evidence. And I had plenty. Hi, Darren Cole. The man she thought would be too busy, too trusting, too blind to see it coming. But I didn't explode. I didn't beg. I prepared. The charges stuck. Fraud. Identity theft. Intent to deceive for financial gain. She took a plea deal. Minimal jail time but permanent record, full restitution, and 0 claim to my estate. Her name is gone from every document. Every deed. Every trace of my life. And Carson? He never showed. But the warrant has his name on it now. His photo sits in a system that never forgets. I walked out of the courthouse alone. No applause. No cinematic music. Just the wind, the cold, and the weight finally falling off my shoulders. I drove to a cabin I hadn't visited in years, the one my father left me in his will, deep in the woods, where phone service dies and memories can breathe. I made a fire. Poured a glass of the same bourbon she once stole for someone else. This time it was mine. And I thought about everything she took. Then I thought about everything I still have. My name. My freedom. My clarity. See, betrayal doesn't define you. Your response to it does. And while she built her life on lies and rehearsed seduction, I rebuilt mine on something better. Truth. It doesn't need a spotlight. Just waits. And when it arrives, it burns cleaner than vengeance ever could.